Great. Thank you, Kim. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kent Branch May 2022 educational presentation. My name is Colleen LeBay. I'm part of the Kent Branch operating team and your host for this evening. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Before we begin tonight's presentation, Bob Daly, member of the Lenape Nation and a Kent Branch member, offers a territory acknowledgement.
The land on which we gather, learn, and play is the traditional territory of the Attawandaron, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lunapawak, and Potawatomi peoples who have long-standing relationships to the land, water, and region of southwestern Ontario. The local First Nations of this area include Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, the Caldwell First Nation, Chippewa of Kettle and Stony Point, Oneida Nation of the Thames, the Delaware Nation at Moraviantown, the Munsee Delaware Nation, and Walpole Island First Nation. Additionally, there is a growing urban Indigenous population who make the cities of southwestern Ontario home. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations of Turtle Island.
Great. So before we begin our presentation, we do have a couple of housekeeping items. Our presentations are recorded and available on our Kent Branch YouTube channel, which is open to everyone. Just bear with me, I have an old computer tonight. Your microphones and cameras have been turned off, but we welcome your questions. If you hover your mouse near the bottom of your screen, you will see the bar with the chat icon. If you click on it, the chat box will open. Click on the little arrow beside the word everyone and choose the word questions instead. Here you can type your message or questions for us and for the speaker, which we'll get to at the end of the presentation, although for tonight, Megan is also taking questions throughout. Linda Patterson will be monitoring the chat box for us tonight. Thank you, Linda.
My pleasure.
Okay, let's get started. For anyone joining us for the first time, let me tell you a bit about Ontario Ancestors. Ontario Ancestors, also known as the Ontario Genealogical Society, is a nonprofit registered charity which was founded in 1961. It is the largest genealogical society in Canada with a mission to encourage, bring together, and assist those interested in the pursuit of family history and to preserve Ontario's genealogical heritage. Be sure to visit the website to learn more about the resources and support available to assist in your family history research.
I am Megan Cowan. I'm the Circulation Services Librarian at Chatham-Kent Public Library. I started at CKPL about 7 years ago in 2015. As part of my role as Circulation Services Librarian, I also serve as the local history librarian. I definitely wear many hats at the library, as if I know that I see some familiar names on here that I see often at the branch. You know, we're all running around like chickens with their heads cut off sometimes, doing so many different things. But it really is a true pleasure for me to get to do local history as a part of my work. I really enjoy it. I have a background in history, and really, as I'm sure all of you know, there is really nothing better than helping someone who is stuck with a piece of local history or genealogy research, getting them past that roadblock and finding a missing piece of their puzzle. So, like I said, though my job duties pull me in a lot of different directions, this is a really pleasurable part of my job. Thank you so much for having me here to speak with you tonight. A little bit more about me as I ramble through my introduction that I did not write down. My journey through genealogy and local history research in Chatham-Kent began before I started with CKPL. As an undergraduate student, I was a part of the Promised Land Project, focusing on the Reverend Thomas Hughes and the Don settlement. And then during my master's degree, I had the opportunity to trace my own family history in CK. So I spent a few days here searching through cemeteries, scanning through microfilm, and getting some wonderful help from my future colleagues at CKPL and our friends at Ontario Ancestors. Having had a meaningful experience as a researcher and now getting to work as local history librarian, I do take great pride in being able to serve this community through my work at CKPL. So for today's talk, we're going to be focusing on Chatham-Kent Public Library's resources for local history and genealogy. We're going to do a quick overview tonight. By no means is it fully comprehensive. We have a true treasure trove of resources. Hopefully I'll be able to touch on some things that maybe people don't know about, maybe spark an interest in something new, and certainly I'm available during and after the presentation for questions. Okay, so although we have local history resources at all 11 library locations, primarily what we're going to be talking about today is the resources at our largest location in Chatham, in our McHugh local history room. So we're just outside the doors of Ontario Ancestors. You've got some pictures on the screen here of our beautiful local history area. Our lovely local history room, the McHugh room, was named for William McHugh, the mayor of Chatham in 1871. And he was also the founder of J&W McHugh, which later became McHugh Supply. Once the school that was named for William McHugh closed down in 2001, McHugh Supply Inc. and Darcy McHugh assisted in equipping the local history room at the library in Chatham, which is furnished with a table formerly used by Chatham City Council. The McHugh room is located on our second floor, like I said, in the Chatham branch, and is open anytime our branch is open, which is Monday to Thursday, 9:30 to 8:30, Friday, 9:30 to 6, and Saturday, 9:30 to 5. The room is not separately staffed. However, there is always a very happy reference team member on our information desk who is more than happy to help you with any needs that you might have in the McHugh room. Now, the real, I think, jewel of our collection and the most sought out resource that we have is our historical newspaper collection. CKPL has one of the most complete collections of Chatham-Kent newspapers, and we have papers representing each of the 11 communities that we serve, from Wallaceburg to Bothwell, Blenheim to Merlin, and Tilbury to Wheatley. All are on microfilm or microfiche, though we'd love to have them available digitally. We don't have any of our papers available online at this time, so they are all in a physical format. Coverage varies based on our community, but our dates range from the 1840s to present, with the most comprehensive coverage for Chatham. In the McHugh room in Chatham, we just have the Chatham newspapers. For the most part, our local history collection policy is to locate items in the community to which they pertain. So for example, if we get a book on Highgate and we just have one copy, we're more likely to send it to the Highgate branch to keep it in that community. So we do this with our microfilm as well to a certain extent, but because not all of our locations have microfilm readers, microfilm for some of our smaller communities is located at a larger branch that does have a reader. Chatham, Dresden, Tilbury, and Wallaceburg branches have the more modern readers that are connected to a computer. So you can use those to print. You can also save digital files, which I highly recommend in case you lose your print copy, and do, I'm seeing questions in the chat. Okay. Lori, I see your question. I'll answer it in one moment. So if you're using our digital readers at those branches, they are very easy to use if you've never used one. Our staff can certainly assist you. And then beyond those locations, Blenheim, Ridgetown, and Thamesville also have older, the more classic microfilm reader that is available for use. So all of those locations, so again, Chatham, Dresden, Tilbury, Wallaceburg have the modern readers. Blenheim, Ridgetown, and Thamesville, the more traditional reader, have their own microfilm holdings. With all that said, we can transfer microfilm between our branches. You just have to ask. And that can be if it's more convenient for you to visit a certain library location. So maybe the hours in Chatham work better for you, but you need some Wallsburg newspapers. We can certainly transfer them between our locations so that you can use them in Chatham. And same goes if you have a preference for the microfilm reader type that you want to use. So if you are more comfortable with a traditional reader, we can transfer your microfilm to a branch that has a reader like that, like Blenheim or Ridgetown. And if you prefer a more modern reader, we can transfer the films to a different location like Tilbury or Dresden. If you'd like to do this, again, just contact our staff. We'd be happy to help you. Please give us about a week lead time to make sure that we can get the films to the location that you need them. We do transfer them in our courier. We don't allow people to take them on their own. Some of our films cannot be replaced, so we don't want to put that burden on a researcher or on a patron should something happen to the microfilm. So we want to make sure it stays in our hands so that we don't put that stress on you should something go wrong and it get lost. So in terms of access for the more modern microfilm scanners, the ones that are attached to a desktop computer, you do need a CKPL card to log into those computers. If you are from Chatham-Kent, our staff would be happy to help you to get a free library card. If you are visiting us from another location outside of CK, we can certainly help you with guest access as well. If you are visiting from out of town, I would suggest that you call ahead to book a microfilm machine just in case. Even though we have 2 machines in Chatham, I have seen days where they are both occupied for long stretches of the day. So I would hate for someone to come in and be disappointed that they can't get on machine. So sometimes it is busy. Usually it's not a problem though, and we can get you in pretty quickly. Okay, Lori, you are asking, can newspaper lookups be done for those that don't live in the area? Yes, they can. I will talk a bit more about that later, but we do have a paid research service that we can engage for you. So stay tuned for more on that in just a few minutes. Okay. So let's talk about indexing. I think if we can get her back, she's going to talk more about our indexing project that we have going on with Ontario Ancestors. So I'll leave that for later, but in terms of indexing for our papers, it varies a little bit. In Chatham, we are very lucky to have a comprehensive index for our Chatham newspapers. Our indexing was done in the late 80s. We got some grant money and we were able to get a lot of things indexed. The index covers up to at least 1990. I have seen some later entries, but when I started in 2015, I remember asking one of my reference colleagues who had been with the library for about 35 years at that time, how far our indexing went up to. And I swear every time I asked her this question, I got a different answer. So to be on the safe side, I just say that our indexing goes up to at least 1990. So almost full coverage, because we do also have a database for Chatham Daily News, which we are still microfilming, that covers 1999 to present. So you can look up anything that you might need in that database. So we just have a few years spread where we don't have any coverage. For the Chatham Index, we have both a name index and an event, place, subject index. And you'll have seen our index, it's in that beautiful card catalog in the middle of the McHugh room. There are a lot of cards in there. Our name index is primarily birth, marriage, and death notices that appeared in the newspaper. Though for some of our more prominent citizens, like politicians, for example, also for some soldiers during World War I and World War II, there may be some more entries. Our index cards, as you can see, include a brief description of the article, often some biographical information. So you can see for Charles Bowden, you've got his marriage notice that was in the paper in April 1932, tells you where his wife Lillian was from. And then for his obituary, it tells you he's a Thamesville resident. He passed away at the age of 83. And then that was in the paper in January 1985. For our subject index, we do have 2 of them. So we have one for Chatham and one for Kent County. The indexing was done before amalgamation, so we do have both. But they are set up pretty much the same. As you can see, they've got a little description of what the article is underneath the subject heading. the date that it appeared in the paper, and then the newspaper code for where to find it. Subjects in our subject index include things like businesses, accidents, clubs and societies, sports, elections, buildings, streets, and much, much more. It really is a wealth of information, that subject index. And I think sometimes people forget that it is there because it's tucked around the corner. So for indexing for other newspapers, unfortunately, a bit of a different story versus our comprehensive index that we have for Chatham. When it comes to our area papers, we have some that have had some indexing done and others have no index at all. So for example, Wallsburg has a fairly comprehensive index, though it does not go quite as far as ours in Chatham. Ridgetown has an index from 1929 to 1945. Tilbury and Thamesville also have some indexing, but it does vary widely by location. Okay, so then the rest of our collection that's kind of around the outside perimeter of the McHugh room is our print collection for local history. We do have a wide variety of materials in our collection. We have materials on major topics in Chatham-Kent history, like Black history, abolition, and the War of 1812, as well as some things like sports, institutions like Union Gas, and area histories. In our collection, you'll find everything from works of local historians like John Rhodes, Jim and Lisa Gilbert, Fred Osman, and Victor Lauriston, to copies of historical Raleigh Township bylaws and community development plans. When I'm training staff on local history, I do tell them it's worth a look, even if they're not sure that we have something, because there are all sorts of little buried treasures in that collection. Sometimes it just takes some digging to find things. Most of our items in our local history print collection are cataloged, so you can search and find things at our online catalog, search.ckpl.ca. And staff are always able to help you with that as well. So I went through and pulled some examples. I wish that I could have these here to show you, but some of them cannot leave the branch, and I don't think you'd be able to see them very well on my camera, so I just took some photos. So I took some photos of, we have the Union Gas yearbooks. We have quite a few of those, so there's some snapshots of those. Maybe not something you'd expect us to have, but we do. There's those Township of Raleigh bylaws I was talking about. So we have very fragile copies of those from the 1920s, one from the 1880s, all sorts of things tucked away in one of our little folders, as well as some minutes and proceedings of Council for County of Kent from the 1940s. There's that redevelopment plan I was talking about for downtown Chatham. Some of our directories here, so some that are included in a shot in the middle, and then an interior shot of one of our directories. That's something else that people really come to view. We have quite the collection for Chatham. I will say that our coverage for Chatham is the most comprehensive. We have some that go back to about the 70s for Wallsburg. Other communities, we have very little to no coverage at all. But if you're looking for Chatham, we are the place to go. We have a lot of directories for Chatham. We also have some yearbooks. Now these, for the most part, are not cataloged, so you just have to come and see what we have, or call us and we can check for you. Essentially, for our yearbooks, we have whatever people have donated to us. We don't actively seek them out, but we do often get them donated. I took a couple of pictures here from Acta College from the 1930s, and then an interior shot of their yearbook. So those are available for people to view as well in the McHugh room. And just another note before I move on to our pamphlet files, some of our materials that are in our print collection can be borrowed for 1 week. You do need a library card to borrow them. If your item on the spine label does not have an REF for reference designation, then it can be checked out for a week. Other materials that we cannot replace, that we might only have one copy of, or that are deemed too fragile, are in-house use only, but you're more than welcome to view them while you're at the library. The reference staff member that's on duty can assist you anytime that we're open with these materials. So I said that our print collection was a bit of a treasure hunt. I think that I'm going to say the same thing about our pamphlet file collection. So if you've ever been to the Chatham branch in the McHugh room, our pamphlet file collection is in the 3 metal cabinets that are kind of tucked into the corner next to one of the microfilm readers. If you've hit a roadblock or you want to dig a little deeper, pamphlet file collection would be a good place to check out. We have all sorts of different clippings, ephemera, pamphlets, photos, handwritten family trees. I've seen a marriage license or 2 tucked in there, all sorts of things that we've collected over many, many years as a reference team. Like our index, we use subject headings to organize them. You can see here I've got a shot of Chatham maps, medicine, politicians, politics. So almost identical to the subject headings that we are using for our index. This is not, though it is organized within the drawers, we do not have an index to it. So if you are looking to see what we have, you do have to just kind of flip through and see if we have anything. The cabinets are locked, so you will have to see a staff member to get them opened up for you, but we are happy to do that. So here's a couple of things that I found in our pamphlet files when I was digging around the other day. Just as a couple of examples of the different types of things we have. Here is a brochure from the 25th anniversary of Chatham Cultural Center from February, March 1988. I found a map from 1914 of the city of Chatham. We had some municipal directories from Kent County from the 80s and 90s. We do have quite a lot of individual people or families in that pamphlet file. So I pulled something on the McVicker family, a little write-up about them, and all compiled into a nice little printed book. And then I also found a speech that was delivered at the retirement of Joseph Harrison in the 1940s. Okay, maps, something that we get asked for quite a lot. We do have some. It is quite a small collection, but people are welcome to browse them if they wish. Our map drawers are located next to our microfilm cabinets. Don't get too excited. We don't have a ton of maps. Most of them are Chatham and area and a little bit more recent maps. So this is one that I pulled out that was from 1982. We also, in addition to our maps in the map drawer, have copies of the 1880 and 1881 Kent County Atlas. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about our digital collection. This is definitely something that I feel like people don't know that we have. And it is another great resource because you don't need to be in the branch to access it. You also don't need to have a library card to access it. It is open access, free to anybody that wants to take a look. Our tagline for this collection is local history at your fingertips. And I think that is an apt little slogan for this collection. We launched this back in 2014, long before many of us were thinking that we might get locked out of a library during a pandemic or we wouldn't have access to anything. I think this collection helped a lot of researchers while they couldn't get into the branch in 2020 and early 2021. Our collection, we have this collection thanks to a grant, which allowed us to have a staff member hired and equipment rented to digitize a bunch of our materials. We have over 200 items available, including directories, Kent County historical items, municipal documents, and local history books by local authors. You can access this directly. You can Google it. You can Google CKPL Digital Collection. You can access through our website, or you can go right to the website, vitacollections.ca/CKPL. So let's take a look at that. Okay. So here is our main page here. We have some featured collections, which is a nice way to browse our digital collection. So here's our local authors here. We have something, I like to say that we have something on almost every community in CK on the digital collection. So if you're really in a bind, you can start here. Or if you have a student who might need to do a project on their community and didn't get into the library in time to get something, we've got some items here. Simply have to click on the record to open it and you'll get some metadata, including some subject headings, author information, copyright date, and an image of the cover. And then you can click to download the full text PDF. Just going to flip back to our main page here. Whenever you are browsing, you can use some of our limiters on the right-hand side, including our subject indexes here, and then our dates on this side. Really helpful for directories. If you want to just see what we have for the 1920s, you can just pull up our 1920s directories for Chatham here. And from that main page, it is also searchable. I was looking up Joseph Story, the architect, for a research question not too long ago. And it'll pull up different hits. So you can see here in the directory that it'll come up with for Joseph Story. Search is a little sensitive, so you can see it pulled up Story here in Windfall as a match, but it does help narrow down your search if you are trying to find something. Okay, so I've already downloaded a couple of our items so you can see what they look like. Here is one of our directories for City of Chatham. When you are in a PDF, it is also searchable. So you can hit Control F. Let's say I'm looking for William Johnson. It's giving me 13 results for Johnson. There's one here. And again, so then you can flip through your search results within your item. Really helpful if you're looking for a mention of a name or a building or a subject within a document, particularly if it does not have an index to that item. Take a look at another example here. So we have the William Gray carriage catalog. We do have physical copies of all these items in our collection, but if you can't come in or you need to access something again, the scans are just as good. As you can see, they're really clear, sharp scans that we're able to get of all of our items here, and you can access them anytime. And then an example of one of the almanacs we have digitized here. Okay. I'm just going to switch back to my presentation. All right, we did have a question, so I've already touched on this a little bit. For any researchers that cannot visit in person to conduct their research, we do have a paid research service. You can inquire about this service at any time through Ask CKPL, which is our reference service. I will have that contact information at the end of the presentation. Like I said, it is a paid research service. Our fees are $55 per hour plus HST with a minimum charge of $15. So again, this is if you cannot come in to conduct your own service or research yourself, you can engage us with this service here. If you have questions, need direction on something or inquiring about what we might have, we're not going to charge you for that research. This is only if you need us to actually go into microfilm, pull articles and things like that for you to send along because you're not able to come in. Typically, we are answering about 50 to 75 questions. I should say I am answering. I'm the one that does this research. 50 to 75 questions per year from researchers. So we have seen an increase in inquiries since the pandemic, and it's still, we're still receiving more than we normally do. So our research is a little bit backed up at this time. We do get questions from across Canada and the US, as well as Europe, And we've answered questions from people from Howard University to people who are making documentaries, someone who is writing a play about Hubernet in Dresden, research papers. I've been sent postcards to help try to identify a building and a time frame, find locations of someone's family farm, all sorts of questions. So even if you're not sure if it's something that we can answer, certainly inquire and we will do our best to help you. And generally, if we can't answer the question, we at least have somewhere to suggest that you can look for more information. Okay, and a couple of other resources that I like to mention in conjunction with our library resources. The library does have a subscription to Ancestry Library Edition, so anybody can use that program on site for free. It has access to all the same records as the paid subscription would, just without some of the features, the personalized features like saving your family tree or accessing and posting on message boards. I also like to mention the Municipal Archives at the McGeorge Building on Grand Ave. They have documents of public interest like council minutes, bylaws, assessment rolls, tax collector rolls, and budgets, as well as corporate records. They are located, like I said, Grand Ave in Chatham. You do need to make an appointment to visit and view records. You can do that by contacting Municipal Customer Service at 519-360-1998. If you need that information again, we are certainly happy at the library to provide that contact for you as well. And then just like our digital collection at CKPL, I think that a lot of people don't realize that museum also has a digital collection of photographs. So when we got our grant, they also got a shared grant. We can take a look at that too. It's really a wonderful collection. I do push people to that collection if they're looking for photos. A couple of tips with this one. This one is very searchable. So let's look up library and see what we pull up. So with this one, in their file names, I believe most of the file names have the acquisition date. So it is a little harder if you're searching for a specific time period. You kind of have to sift through, like say you were looking for the original Carnegie building at the library, you do have to kind of sift through the different search results to find those images. But it really is quite the wealth of items on this site. And once you go into your item, you'll see that it does have more in the metadata that will help you identify where and when your picture is from, as well as those subject links, just like on our site through Vita. You can see a bit of our current building as it was when it was built in 1967. It looks quite different now. It's funny to see these older pictures. Okay, I don't see any more questions in the chat at this point, but certainly start popping them in there if you have them. Like I mentioned, if you want to engage us for research services, you can go through our reference team, which we call Ask CKPL. You can give us a call at the main branch, 519-354-2940. You can send us a text message, 519-401-7174. You can also send us a Facebook message at CKP Library, or send us an email, cklibrary@chatham-kent.ca. And then reference staff can answer your question, point you towards resources, or connect you with me as needed. We are very quick at answering your questions, so if you ever need anything for any library related reason, go through Ask CKPL and we can help. Okay, that is library resources. I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you for putting that email in the chat there. Does anybody have any questions, any additional questions? Or something
Megan, this is Colleen. So first of all, thank you very much for jumping in and taking over when my computer, I don't know what happened to it, honestly. I actually have a question. Can you talk a little bit about, because I think the library is an affiliate with Family Search. Could you talk a little bit about that?
I can talk a little bit about it. So yes, we have affiliate status with Family Search. So if you come in and visit us at the Chatham Library, I believe we are working on getting the access on both of our microfilm computers upstairs, but certainly you can access some of the additional records that you can't get to with a normal Family Search if you were doing it at home. Other than that, Colleen, I honestly haven't had too much of a chance to look at it since we signed on with that, but we can look at it together if you ever come into the branch and want to take a peek. I'm happy to help suss things out if I'm on site.
Great. Well, thank you. I really appreciate the in-depth look at the resources. I was shocked. Well, I'll say surprised. I wasn't aware of the pamphlets.
Yes.
I probably walked by the filing cabinet every time I'm up there, and I didn't realize that there were pamphlets. So I'm going to have a look the next time I'm up.
Yes, please do. There's a lot of, like I said, lots of things that you might not expect in those pamphlet files that we've collected over the years.
So Linda, do you have any questions that were sent directly to you?
I see absolutely nothing, no questions. It was a great presentation.
Hopefully the no questions means that I did a good job. Oh, I've got a personal question here. I don't think so. Not to my knowledge. The Cowan side of my family is they immigrated here in the 1930s to BC. So I don't know if that helped at all, but those names don't seem familiar to me.
Someone thinks they're a relative.
Oh yes, she sent me a direct message. That's
Okay.
not everybody can see it. I saw that after. You're welcome, Elizabeth.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Megan. That was so informative. And as I said, even though I think a lot of us are up there quite a bit, just an appreciation for some of the unique resources. And I am going to touch a little bit on the project that we're working on together for the newspaper catalog. But first, Kim, if you could put the slides back up. There are some slides that I skipped over when my computer froze there. And so Kim is going to share them, and I'll just talk through them, and then we'll wrap up by talking about the project that we're working on with the library. So I just want to talk a little bit about some upcoming events coming up in June. We've got our webinar is hosted with the Lambton branch on Tuesday, June 14th at 7 p.m. We welcome Claire Smith Burns, who has deep connections to both Lambton and Kent counties through her Courtney and Traxler lines. The presentation is free and open to everyone. You can simply register to attend, and the link is on our Kent branch website and in our Facebook group. And then Kim, if you would want to go to the next slide. Also coming up, June 25th, plan to visit us in downtown Chatham at Bridgerama Day 2022. The Downtown Chatham BIA is hosting this fun one-day event celebrating the 3rd Street Bridge, which was first built in 1856. The first Bridgerama Day event was held 60 years ago in 1962, and it was a fun-filled 3-day event. This year, there will be food, music, vendors, artisans, and entertainment. We will have an information booth set up, and we're looking forward to chatting with attendees about all things genealogy. We hope you'll come for a visit, and as it gets closer, we'll post some more information on our website. Next slide. And don't forget, the annual OGS Conference is being held virtually again this year, and it's being hosted by our Ottawa branch. It's the weekend of June 24th to 26th. There are many great presentations and sessions, and all the details can be found on the conference website that's on the slide there. Okay. And then you can stop there, Kim. I want to talk a little bit about the project that we have. It's a partnership between the Kent branch of Ontario Ancestors and Chatham-Kent Public Library. And actually, this is a very fitting slide because it's that card catalog that you see right there on the picture. So fun fact, there are 171 drawers in that cabinet. I don't know why there's, well, I think some of the drawers on the backside are not all full. They average about 1,000 cards per drawer, and we are digitizing them. And so I'm going to, Kim, if you can stop sharing, I'm just going to jump over to our website and show you what we've been doing. And hopefully my computer behaves this time. All right. So from our website under projects, we have the Chatham-Kent Public Library newspaper microfilm project. And we started this back last September, actually, and it's something that we've always wanted to do. And it was actually the pandemic that sort of spurred us into it, because everyone couldn't get to those cards and missed the vast amount of information that's available on them. Give you a sense for where we're sitting at right now. So we've scanned 93 of the 171 drawers. That's over 100,000 cards. But we're not just scanning them, we're actually transcribing them. And we've got a small army of volunteer transcribers who are taking those cards and then typing them into a transcription worksheet. And they are pretty good at it because they're right behind us. We're trying to stay ahead of them, and they've transcribed 76 of the drawers and over 85,000 cards. We're transcribing in two ways. One, we've got some transcribers that will take a whole drawer. So we'll send them a whole drawer full of card images in a worksheet, and they work away at home, and then they send them back to us. We're also transcribing, sort of crowdsourcing on our website. So there's 3 drawers that are up on our website right now, and anybody can just open up the worksheet and open up the images and transcribe 1 card, transcribe 500 cards. We will take any and all help. And it's going very well. I think the bulk of them are being transcribed by dedicated transcribers, but this is probably the 10th or 11th drawer that we've put up on the website, so it's working well. And there are some examples over here on the side of just what some of the cards look like. There is so much geological information that's available on these cards. It's just invaluable. Where the project's going to end up is there will be all of this information in one large worksheet that we will then give back to the library. And the intent is that at some point we hope to be able to see that information online and searchable. So if you want to know whether you have relative or can find your relative in the newspapers, you can check ahead of time before you visit the library. And with that, if you are interested in helping to transcribe, we'd love to have you. You can either go to the website, there's a video with the instructions that you can listen to, and then you can just transcribe right off of the website. Or if you feel like you'd like to take a whole drawer and work offline at home, just reach out to me and I can set you up and get you set up and give you some pointers on how to get started. Okay. Are there any questions before we wrap up for tonight?
I'm not seeing anything in the chat, Colleen.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I think we're wrapping up just a little bit early tonight, but I think it was very informative. Thank you, Megan, for coming out and sharing what the library offers in terms of family history information. And we hope to see all of you up there. Come visit us, come visit the McHugh Local History Room. And with that, have a good evening.